So, welcome back, guys. In second part of our review session today, we have just finished section number 3 in chapter 21. It's about the Central European monarchs. And now we are going to start section number 1 in chapter 22. It's all about the scientific revolution. Okay, so just go to the messenger group and find the link, and all of you can join us. And also, I will upload all of this recording to the YouTube channel by the end of today, inshallah. Okay, so don't worry about missing any points. And also, if you have any missing questions or any questions, you can send it to me directly on Jupyter messaging. And also, as I promised you to answer all of your questions, maximum 1 hour later. Okay, so now who joined us? We have Siham, Salah, Omar, Abdurrahman, and Adawi, and waiting for Hala and the others. So I will start now. We already started recording. In scientific revolution, terms and names here. The definition of scientific revolution is that a new way of thinking about the natural world based on careful observation and willingness to question. Okay. So, Hala have a problem to join this. Okay, so she can review through the YouTube channel. Again, if you have any questions, Hala, you can send it to me directly on Jupyter. Again, so now the definition of scientific revolution is very important because you may have a question over terms and names. Of course, you have some questions over names and terms. Here, scientific revolution again is a new way of thinking about the natural world based on careful observation and a willingness to question. Heliocentric theory is a theory that is the sun is at the center of the universe. It was the old belief in the medieval ages. Okay? Geocentric theory is a view which held that the earth was the center of the universe. Okay, this is a new theory that demolished and also that broken all the old beliefs about the heliocentric theory. It proved that the Earth was not the center of the universe. Okay, so again, heliocentric theory, it is the sun is the center of the universe. It is the belief of the scientific revolution scientists. And all the beliefs on the medieval ages is that they believed that the center of the universe was the Earth, not the sun, which is proved to be wrong. Galileo Galilei was a scientist and also one of the significant scientists in the scientific revolution era because he was forced by the Catholic Church to take back scientific ideas that disagreed with the church's view. Scientific method is a logical procedure for gathering and testing ideas. As I told you before in the class session, that the scientific method definition and the sequence of scientific method steps are extremely important. And also in your notebooks, you draw how to draw the scientific method steps and sequences. Okay. Isaac Newton is a scientist who discovered the laws of motion and gravity. Also, he is one of the most significant scientists at the time of the scientific revolution. Okay, let's start now. How did modern science begin? And also, here is the first question here. It is, what was the scientific revolution? So, during the Middle Ages, few scholars questions believed that had been long held. Europeans based their ideas on what ancient Greeks and Romans believed, or on the Bible. People still thought that the Earth was the center of the universe. They believed that the sun, moon, other planets, and stars moved around us, which is proven wrong. In the mid-1500s, attitudes began to change. Scholars started what is called the scientific revolution. It was a new way of thinking about the natural world. It was based on careful observation and the willingness to question old beliefs. European voyages of exploration helped to bring about the scientific revolution. When Europeans explored the new lands, they saw plants and animals that ancient writers had never seen. These discoveries led to a new course of study in the universities of Europe. So the definition now of the scientific revolution is highlighted here. It was a new way of thinking about the natural world. It was based on careful observation and the willingness to question old beliefs. Okay, so how did new ideas change accepted thinking in astronomy? The first challenge to accepted thinking in science came in astronomy. In the early 1500s, Nicholas Copernicus, he was the founder of the theory of heliocentric theory, a Polish astronomer who studied stars and planets. He developed the heliocentric theory. Heliocentric means that sun-centered. It is that Earth, like all other planets, revolved around the sun. Copernicus didn't publish his findings until just before his death. He had been afraid that his ideas would be attacked because he went against the geocentric theory. This theory held that the Earth was the center of the universe. In the early 1600s, Johannes Kepler used mathematics to prove that Copernicus-based ideas was correct. Okay? An Italian scientist, Galileo Galilei, made several discoveries that also undercut ancient ideas. He made one of the first telescopes and used it to study the planets. He found that Jupiter had moons and Sun had spots, and Earth's moon was rough. Some of his ideas about the Earth and Sun and the planets went against the teachings of the Catholic Church. Church authorities forced Galileo to take back his statements. Still, his ideas spread. Okay, so now, what old belief about the universe did the new discoveries destroy? The belief was that the Earth was the center of the universe. Okay, it's highlighted here. You can take snapshots, or also you can take screenshots for these answers if you want. Here, why was the scientific method an important development? Interest in science led to a new approach, the scientific method. With this method, scientists ask a question based on something they have seen in the physical world. They form hypotheses or an attempt to answer the question. Then they test the hypothesis by making experiments or checking other facts. Finally, they change the hypothesis if needed. The English writer Francis Bacon helped create this new approach to knowledge. He said scientists should base their thinking on what they can observe. And test, the French mathematician René Descartes also influenced the use of the scientific method. His thinking was based on logic and mathematics. Okay, so now, what thinkers helped advance the use of the scientific method? René Descartes and Francis Bacon. Okay, so wait. It is René Descartes and sorry. Okay, the answer for this question, because I have a problem with this PDF file, the answer is René Descartes and Francis Bacon. They were the two thinkers that helped the advance of the use of the scientific method. Okay, here, what scientific discoveries were made? In the mid-1600s, the English scientist Isaac Newton described the law of gravity. Using mathematics, Newton showed that the same force ruled both motion of planets and action of bodies on the Earth. Other scientists made new tools to study the world around them. One invented microscope. Others invented tools for understanding weather. Doctors also made advances. One made drawing of the human body. Another learned how the heart pumped blood through the body. In the late 1700s, Edward Jenner first used the process called vaccination to prevent disease. By giving a person the germs from cattle disease called cowpox, he helped that person avoid getting a more serious human disease of smallpox. Scientists made progress in chemistry as well. One questioned the idea that things were made of only four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. He and other scientists separated oxygen from air. So now we have a question here: how did the science of medicine change? Here is the answer. One made drawings that showed the different parts of the human body. Another learned how they pumped blood through the body. In the late 1700s, Edward Jenner first used the process called vaccination to prevent disease. Okay, so in your homework, in the skills booklet, there was another homework. Just wait, I will stop sharing now. Okay, just wait. Yes. In your skills booklet, you have this page as homework. It was section quiz after the scientific revolution. This section quiz was extremely important because all of the scientists here, and you have to match these scientists with their accomplishments. Okay, so I think I checked most of your answers. Okay, and here is, as usual, you also missed answering this question. So most of you missed answering this question because, and also this extremely important question. You may have one of the questions in the exam over these questions. What was revolutionary about scientific revolution? In your answer, be sure to discuss the scientific method. Here in this question, for example, I need you to define what is the scientific revolution and also to write the sequence of the scientific method and the two main scientists who developed this scientific method. So to answer this question, define the scientific revolution, write the sequence of the scientific method, and also in your answer, you must include that there were two significant scientists who developed the scientific method, who were René Descartes and Francis Bacon. Okay? This is all about the scientific revolution. I will share another one. Sorry. Yes. Also here in this presentation, let's summarize what we have just said in the scientific revolution. Here in this presentation, we have three questions here. Before the 1500s, who and what were the final authorities with regard to most knowledge? How did the heliocentric theory of the universe differ from the geocentric theory? The heliocentric theory is sun-based. Geocentric theory is earth-based. What are the main steps of the scientific method? Okay, here, the roots of modern science in the medieval view, most knowledge in Middle Ages comes from Bible, Greek Roman sources. Supports geocentric theory is that moon, sun, planets revolve around the earth. A new way of thinking, Renaissance prompts new ways of thinking in 1300s to 1600s. The scientific revolution is a new way of viewing the natural world based on observation and inquiry. New discoveries, overseas exploration open up thinking. Scholars make new developments in astronomy and in mathematics. Here's the heliocentric theory, is that widely accepted geocentric theory challenged as inaccurate. Copernicus developed the heliocentric theory. Planets revolve around the sun. Later scientists mathematically proved Copernicus to be correct. Galileo's discoveries, Italian scientist Galileo Galilei makes key advance in the astronomy, makes a discovery about planet surface, supports heliocentric theory. Conflict with the church attacks Galileo, where fears it will weaken people's faith. Pope forces Galileo to declare his and other new findings are wrong, which to be proven that the church was wrong in 1992, after the death of Galileo Galilei of about 500 years. Okay, it's not important information, by the way. Logical approach. Revolution in thinking leads to development of scientific method. What is a scientific method? Series of steps for forming, testing scientific theories. Okay, this is the definition of scientific method. The Bacon and the Descartes. Thinkers Bacon and Descartes helped to create scientific method. Bacon urged scientists to experiment before drawing conclusions. Descartes advocate using logic, math to reason out basic truths. Newton theories. He is an English scientist. Isaac Newton develops the theory of motion, states some forces rule motion of planets, matter in space and Earth. Motion in space, Earth linked by the law of universal gravitation, holds that every object in universe attracts every other object. Okay, this is the definition of the universal gravitation. Is that every object in universe attracts every other object. Newton views universe as a vast, perfect mechanical clock. In scientific instruments, scientists develop microscope, barometer, thermometer. New instruments lead to better observations and new discoveries. In medicine, for example, Andrea Vesalius improves the knowledge of anatomy. Edward Jenner produces world's first vaccination for smallpox. In chemistry, Robert Boyle, which is considered the father of chemistry, argued that matter is made of many different particles. Boyle's law reveals the interaction of volume, temperature, gas, pressure. Okay, so that's all about the scientific revolution. So do you have any questions so far in the scientific revolution section? Any questions, guys? Any questions? Okay, so again, this page in your skills booklet is extremely important. Okay, because it summarizes all of the scientists in the scientific revolution, and also search and check your answers with the original book, match these scientists with their accomplishment. Okay, if you studied this page, you now master all of the scientists and their accomplishment or their inventions and discoveries. Okay, so no questions. I will move to the last board.